Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to Vibrant Life, episode 31. My name is Jessica Parker. I'm a holistic health coach with a master's in health psychology, and I'm a fitness instructor. So today we're going to chat about a personal journey that I'm going to take you on. You may or may not have heard me tell my story before. So I've been in the health and fitness realm for quite a long time, but when I finally got my master's degree and certified in health coaching in 2013, it was very kind of more mainstream. And then as the years went on, I dove deeper and deeper into the holistic world, and that comes from your personal struggles. Typically, it's one thing to have clients that are struggling with certain things where you're taking a more root cause approach, which just means digging down and finding out why this is happening and targeting that instead of just like, how can we stop the symptoms? So I had a health crisis, I call it, in 2018. And just in a nutshell, I've had these little brain blips happen, which it's really hard to describe them, but they feel almost like I start to black out, like if my brain was a monitor on your computer, it starts to turn off and then comes back on, but I feel that physical sensation of it happening also. And so that would happen to me here and there. And I just thought I'm, stress, low electrolytes, maybe not sleeping enough. It was when I was, my kiddo was little, I was a single mom, going to school. So that would make sense, right? So that was a sign that I was having early on. And then fast forward to 2018, I had some moments when a couple of nights I woke up during the night and one of my legs was completely numb, and it was super weird and super frightening to me because I wasn't even laying in a weird position. It was very odd. And I remember both of those times thinking, there's nothing that I can do about it right now, and I just tried to go back to sleep, and I did go back to sleep, and then I was fine in the morning. So those are the big things that happened to me. But then in June, so I had some dental work done, I will say. I grew up, my family does not have the best teeth, I will say that. Had several amalgams. So those are the silver fillings, and never thought anything of it. And I had some old fillings to be worked on, and I thought, I was going down this holistic route, and I knew that mercury is not good for us. And so I told the dentist, well, as long as you're in there, anything that you have to fix, go ahead and replace it with the white composite, because I know that's safer. So he actually fixed several things because I had neglected some upkeep for a few years because I had been a single mom and didn't have insurance and didn't make enough money to pay for it and made too much to be on any kind of assistance. So anyway, so he was fixing several things, drilling into stuff. I was at a all-time level of stress. I mean, probably the most stressed out I've ever been in my life. And then also had all this stuff going on. And there was one day, which actually, it was a good day. Like, I stopped and talked to one of my clients, my health coaching clients, and had gone to Trader Joe's, and everything was great. And I was driving home when we lived out in the country at the time, and I had one of those major, like, the things that would happen, but it was like so pronounced that I thought, and it had been happening a little bit more, but it was so pronounced that I just got, what's the word I'm looking for? Not tingle. Yeah, tingles, like just like down my extremities. And I knew, okay, I'm going to make an appointment with a doctor. Did not have a doctor at the time because I just never went, and never felt the need. So got home and I could not get out of the car. Just everything was like closing in on me. And I thought, am I having like an aneurysm or a stroke, or like what is going on? It freaked me out. My lips were tingly, and just, when I tried, it just like everything was starting to go black. And so sat there in my car, called 911. I'm like, shaking and crying and like, what is happening? And went to the ER. They couldn't find anything. Had a very jerk of a doctor, which anyway, the hospital itself was wonderful in addressing that. He was really bad. But anywho, it just got worse. I mean, it didn't get worse. It just kept like that. My life changed, I will say. So those things were happening a lot to me, and very like triggered. I would get triggered visually, so I could be looking at something and it's just like a crazy pattern and it would trigger me. Or I remember going, like after a couple of days, I was like, let's go. I feel like I can get out, and we needed a couple things at Costco, so let's go to Costco. And I think the lights and the like so many things and people, like just, it was visually triggering. And so I did not know what was happening to me, and my legs felt so like heavy, and my brain, it was so weird, and it's scary, Anyway, so then I'm like, do I have a tumor? Like, what is happening? Because they did blood tests, they checked my heart, the doctor, oh my gosh, I laugh, but man, he's lucky that I was out of it, because he said, well, women just pass out. That's just what they do. That was his thing in that first ER visit. And I've never ever in my life passed out. And I was very clear, I did not pass out. I never passed out. I have never passed out. That is not what's happening to me. But they put that in my chart. Anyway, so because of that experience, like I went to the next town over, and so they didn't, they, in my opinion, did all the wrong things and checked, they weren't really, it was happening in my brain, so he wasn't concerned about my brain. So I went to the other ER, this was just a couple days later, and they did an MRI. And then she was concerned. That's the first time anybody ever said MS to me. And I thought she was loony. I was thinking, that's not what this is. And then I went home and I did research, and I related with so much of it. So many of my symptoms, lined up, and there was nothing else that actually made sense. Fast forward, it's been a long journey. So now it's 2021. We just passed, 3 years. So it's basically been 3.5 years, and I've done countless hours of research. I've been to a functional neurologist. I've been to a couple of different neurologists. I have done test upon test upon test. Thankfully, I had a functional doctor. She moved, so I'm finding a new doctor. But I had a doctor who actually listened to me, and she wasn't, well versed in what I'm dealing with necessarily, but she did the testing. I would say, I have learned about this and how this could cause these symptoms. We would test it. So like copper and zinc, for example, if the relationship between the two is super important. And if you are, how does it go? Low in copper and high in zinc, it can cause MS symptoms. I was the opposite. So anywho, lots of things like that. Lots of, gut testing, all the things. So I had a meeting. One of my health coaching peers connected me with a doctor who is in Mexico, and we had a virtual appointment, and he mentioned the mercury. And so I've been doing a lot of research on that as well, and it all makes sense. Mercury can actually cause these symptoms. It can actually cause MS. So it's one of those, I guess where I am with it is, I think it depends on where you catch it and get it out of your body, and perhaps it won't do as much damage. That's kind of my understanding. So I'm just taking you guys on this journey with me. I'm finding things out for myself. I'm not a doctor. This is just how it looks for me. The reason I'm sharing is not because I think everybody who has amalgams is going to get MS. It's that I had a very acute exposure. I had mine drilled right into that blatant exposure with no protection. And, you know, a lot of us have these in our mouths for years and years and years and years, and we're just getting that chronic exposure, which is low level constantly. And then we wonder why we're depressed or can't focus or have brain fog or have autoimmune stuff, you know, the things that we just are told, well, you're just getting older, or it's just, it happens to people. So mercury is just one of those things. It is the most toxic substance on the planet for human beings, and yet we have it in our mouth. So I have had the argument, no, it's safe. Well, prove that to me, because all the research that I have done actually like goes right along with what I have experienced and proves that to not be true, proves that actually it's quite harmful, and other countries don't use mercury, and it's not allowed in other countries because it is so toxic and harmful. So there are some articles, there are places, you know, you can go, of course, Google it. Anyway, there's a really good like functional medicine university.com. They actually have a really good breakdown, and they go into like, there's so many different symptoms, because mercury basically hijacks your body. It loves your brain and your nervous system. And so there's, I mean, top to bottom, you can get so many different symptoms from it. It just takes over. So even like, it's interesting because I've had bronchitis a couple of times very badly, and very bad. And that's one of the first things on here, the respiratory system, which is not something I've paid attention to before because I was focused on the other, like more MS type of symptoms. And that's one of the things. Up to 80% of inhaled mercury vapor is absorbed through the lungs, blah, blah, blah. Anywho, so I'm not saying for sure that's what caused that for me, but I also had some other toxicity in my life at the time. So sometimes it's also like a recipe of this plus this, you know, like back when I had all that dental stuff, I also had extremely high level of stress, you know, so, but a few things, you know, you can notice it even talks about, the levels of mercury in the brain have been shown to be directly related to the number of amalgam fillings. Mercury can produce a host of mental, emotional, behavioral changes. When that first happened to me, for quite a while, I was very, like, I could not handle very much stimulation. And I mean, like, very much at all. Like, I remember sitting down to watch TV and I'm like, nobody, like, stop talking. Like, you know, it was just not me at all. And I felt like I just couldn't process like I normally do. This still happens to me if I have a flare. I will mix up my words and sometimes not even notice. And so I'm a fitness instructor, and that when I was at the peak of all of this happening, it was happening a lot during class. And at one point it was very like, it was hard. It's hard. It's an emotionally hard thing to go through because people can't see you. It's not a broken limb. It's not, you know, I didn't get in an accident. You know, people can't see what I'm going through, and they think, you look pretty good. You know, you're teaching your classes. Well, that's part of my therapy, to be honest with you. So anyway, but I had that happening during class, and I finally, you know, got to know the gals that were coming regularly enough that they were kind of rousing me. And it actually, like, I was fighting back tears, and I said, listen, you guys, this is why I'm doing that. And they didn't know. And they were very, like, supportive and encouraging, and, you know, but that kind of stuff is, like, very weird when it happens. You know, I literally would say elbow, and I, you know, nose, and I meant elbow or something. And sometimes I didn't even notice that. So anyway, moving on. Some things like, you know, I mentioned before, like depression, and there's such a wide array. I don't deal with depression and anxiety, but there are things that you might experience with a like acute exposure or something like that. But there might be things that you're dealing with ongoing and you can't figure out why. And this is something to look at, like, you know, irritability, mood swings, low self-confidence, This talks about, depression. I mean, there's so obsessive compulsive disorders, you know. I think of some stuff that goes, like, my family has experienced over the years, and I know that there's other people in my family with amalgams. Plus, if you have the genetic piece of it to where, you know, something like the MTHFR gene mutation, which means your body's not going to metabolize and process through toxins the way it should, and it's kind of a common thing. I don't know if that's something my family has, but I'm just saying, if you have certain things that are already toxic and then your body's really bad at processing through, that's just an example where it might be even harder for you. So, and then it goes into like the nerves, the nerve structure, difficulty articulating words, numbness and tingling, clumsiness, tremors, tics. Those aren't things that I personally have. Restless legs, I have that, which magnesium does help me with that, but it just goes on and on and on. So, you know, if you have amalgams, you might want to go check it out, is what I'm saying. I'm not putting any kind of diagnosis out there for anybody. I'm simply saying this has really alerted me to, wow, you know, I have clients who have like had certain things that they just can't figure out, and it kind of like starts these little red flags. I'm like, do you have amalgams? Yeah. And so, I mean, you cannot supplement it enough to balance it. You have to get that crap out of your body. You're not going to fix it with supplements. You're not going to fix it with diet. You're not going to fix it with exercise or a therapist. Like, you have to get the toxins out of your body. And especially something like mercury, it literally takes over. So the reason I'm telling you guys all of this and the journey that I'm going on, and this is getting long and I'm going to try and end it, but I finally, I had an appointment this morning with a biological dentist. So you cannot just go to a dentist and say, okay, take these out. That's what happened to me. You have to be protected. They have to be protected. So you go in, and what I've seen on video is that basically they have these suits on. There's like a dam thing on your mouth. No, I'm not cussing, but you know what I mean. And they give you oxygen. And from what I've seen, like, there's a filter in the room, and it was really cool. Today, the dentist showed me, usually the little suction thing is just this thing that like sticks like next to your gums and teeth, but the one they have for mercury specifically, and it was designed in Sweden, fits on your teeth. It fits on your teeth, and it can move. And so they're just capturing that toxin as soon as it's available, instead of like, okay, we hope we're getting it while some of it's leaking out this way. Very cool. They also give you charcoal, activated charcoal, to take before the procedure even starts. So then you're going to be absorbing that. The charcoal is going to help you absorb anything that leaks out into your system, which there's going to be some, you know. So I will be sharing my journey because I want people to know what it looks like, you know. And another very important thing I want to say is that be extremely careful, because like I said, you cannot start detoxing from mercury. It's not like other things. It's very dangerous and it loves your brain. So you really can't safely detox until you have all of it out. So I do things regularly to keep my general toxin load lower. And if you know me very well and were around me very much in 2018 versus now, I'm a different person. I have really been able to manage my symptoms really well, and I know that I need to keep my stress low. I know that I need to get enough sleep, which that is actually one of the things I struggle with. And this is a little TMI, but I have like some bladder stuff to where, you know, and I'm even looking at that as a symptom, like just frequent, like you feel like you have to pee, and sometimes it's like, God, dang it, I don't, you know, but that can happen to me at night and then keep me up. And it's very annoying, but to the point where sometimes I'm like so tired because I was struggling with that. And anyway, like I said, hijacks the body. So I'm, once I get all of these removed, I have 3, then I am going to, and they're not going to just get done all at once, then I will go through a detox process. You can't, like I said, start detoxing before you get all of them out, but also you have to be careful about how. And so I would highly recommend, if you are somebody who's dealing with any of this, please understand, like, please find a functional practitioner who is well-versed in mercury detox, because it's like a 2-part process. You pull it out of your brain and tissues and then pull it out of the rest of your body. And I've done stupid things because I'm kind of a health hacker, and I used cilantro essential oil, for example, can be a really good heavy metal. It's a really good detoxer in general and can be really good for heavy metals, because what it will do is do that first part. And so I remember taking it like, okay, awesome, I'll, try and get some of this out of my system before I really knew enough. Got some out of my brain, but then it recirculates because you're not doing the rest of the detox. And for somebody like me who has a lot of neurological symptoms, it's scary. So the things that it does to my brain and those little like mini seizure type things, very scary. And plus, when I have things like that happen, when I get flared and I have those things happen, then I get really tanked. It's like my body is just like, I just climbed a mountain. And so I'm just really like, flatlined for a little bit. But again, like I personally, there are so many things that you can do along the way. Exercise is very important to me. My body is not a fan of running at this point. Speaking of flatlined, I can run, but then my body's like, screw you for the next few days. I've tried that with certain classes at the gym. And, it's hard as a fitness instructor to say, I can't do that. I mean, I can, but it is actually, what's the word I'm looking for? The opposite of beneficial, whatever the word is I'm looking for. It's like 3 steps backwards when I do stuff like that, because it just adds to the inflammation that my body is already trying to manage. And it is like, no, I'd rather be able to do all the other things instead of like, go balls to the wall in a class and not be able to do what I want for the weekend, So anyway, so all of those things, my nutrition is super important. That's one of the reasons I do keto, because it helps keep the inflammation low. And I really notice a difference. There are lots of things. I go to an upper cervical chiropractor. So that is the C1 and C2, the atlas and axis in your neck. And it's the most like mobile joint in your entire body. And yet it also contains the most important parts of your body, like the communication from your motherboard, your brain, to the rest of your body. And so, that's been huge. I still go every month, and I hopefully will have Dr. Burks on here for an interview, because that's another thing that is very beneficial. A lot of people like having, being out of alignment is just normal. Like, again, like this is the most mobile part of our body. When I went, I didn't even realize, I was just telling him this the other day, that my range of motion, I couldn't do that. I mean, and when I first started going and I was getting range of motion back, I was like, I feel like the exorcist. It was weird that I could turn my head that much, because it used to be like this. And then I remember like driving and having to be like, to look behind me. And it didn't even dawn on me that that wasn't normal. So anyway, I feel like I'm going off in lots of different directions, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. And toxicity in general can cause so many things. And I do a lot of stuff with like autoimmune, and that's really at the heart of autoimmune. And so rather than just, okay, I'm going to take a medication to like put this little flame out that is a symptom, the problem is still there. So that's the journey that I've been on, to like figure out the problem. And it can be several things, of course. Like I said, it can be genetics, it can be stress, it can be toxins, your diet, so many things. So I'm trying to take care of as many things as I can. And now I'm going on a big journey, and I'm going to take you with me. So I am likely having my first appointment this month. So I will be reporting. And I think the real interesting thing is going to be once I get them out and start doing the detox, because that has to be done very carefully and a lot of different things have to be done. So, all right. If you have any questions or anything to add, then please go ahead and reach out. And I also want to tell you that I'll talk more about this later, but I have done a mercury test. You can't just do like a blood test or whatever. Mercury is a very precarious little brat, and like I said, loves the brain so much in the tissues. And so it's so hard to test for it. There is a test called the Mercury test. Look up dalewhite.com. He's a doctor. He's in California, and I have spent some time on the phone with him. I ordered my Mercury test through him, and then he also did a consultation with me and really helped me. He actually specializes. He like works with MS and Parkinson's and lots of different things. So, but he's the kind of guy that you could connect with and would help you with a detox, for example, because he knows what he's doing and he has a whole protocol. So you don't necessarily have to have somebody in person with you, but you have to have somebody who knows what to use and how to help you and all the things, because it's not even just like, take this, it's going to come out. But you know, there's like certain supplements to take. There's a certain way of eating. There are certain things that you can do, like infrared sauna and things to help your body keep on releasing it. So, all right. You can find me at thatvibrantlife.com and Facebook and Instagram, That Vibrant Life. Instagram is _Vibrant Life. And you guys have a great evening.
Yeah.